All right, Hoodie Zealand is back. I'm wearing a hoodie, and that's because it's about to get real cold in the media. I saw a headline that has significantly alarmed me, and it should alarm you too. One of those headlines that make your eyebrows shoot up your forehead. Now, fortunately, I have a lot of forehead to spare in that department, so my eyebrows really don't get that high. But I still hit it with a little, like a pog champ sort of face or something, because I'm not even alarmed in a bad way. I'm just the general definition of alarmed, where you have that moment, that spike of surprise. You go, oh my God, something very interesting might be happening here. So the Manchester United situation with its manager, Erik ten Hag, has become curious, right? He seems to be stuck there because they can't find somebody better. They were talking to Tuchel, but either Tuchel said no or they said no, or some combination of the two. And that was the last time I thought about Thomas Tuchel, until today, when a report came from Welt, which is a news organization in Germany, that said that Thomas Tuchel is in talks to, get this shit, be the manager of the English national team. First of all, as somebody that is not English and really doesn't care whether the English national team's super successful or not, bring me the damn popcorn. I want to watch this. Thomas Tuchel is a lot of things, but he is not boring. And Thomas Tuchel v. the English media would be anything but boring. I'd need all the popcorn I could get my hands on just to try and keep up with all of the different weird press conferences and team selection decisions that Thomas Tuchel would be making going through this different process. And it's not just like he's negotiating to be, preliminary talks here. They've gone beyond that, actually. He's apparently in advanced negotiations. Now, take that with a pinch of salt, because I am using the Google Translate feature on an article that was written in the original German. And despite the fact that I took 2 years of German in college, every day for 2 years, well, every weekday, let's be reasonable, I have no idea how to read it. So I'm relying on Google Translate in order to actually translate this stuff for me. And according to this, an agreement could be reached quickly between the association and the 51-year-old. One, didn't realize Thomas Tuchel was that young. For some reason, I felt like he was in his late 50s. I don't know why. Maybe that was just me. But let's be clear. The English national team also needs this. The English national team really needs this. I don't know if you happen to catch the result of the Greece match, but the English team managed to lose for the first time ever to Greece, and they managed to do it in Wembley. Now, Greece was obviously playing for higher cause. They had a teammate of theirs that had passed away very recently, very tragically. That's just no, I'm not going to make a video about it, but it's definitely something that is a somber, sad story that fueled Greece's play in some way. But England also managed to go out and lose that game, and if it wasn't for Levi Colwell's unbelievable goal line clearance early in that match, the score would have been worse than it ended up being. So yeah, I don't think England's interim coach is going to be the answer in this situation. They're going to need to bring in someone, a serious heavy hitter. And unlike most people, I'm not actually opposed to the idea of it being somebody that's not English. The United States recently signed Mauricio Pochettino, who, by the way, is not American, in case you hadn't noticed. And I think that's the best possible manager the United States could have signed. For a whole host of different reasons outside of the reasons that England would be using, I think the English team needs an outside perspective. And it is also clear that England is not capable right now of producing the best coaches in the world. They're coming from Italy, Spain, and Germany. That is where the best coaches in the world are coming from over the last 15 to 20 years. You can debate the reasons. It's probably a lot to do with the same reasons why certain countries produce certain types of players or the best players or whatever, right? But that's where the best coaches are coming from. And Thomas Tuchel is obviously German. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody with a German passport should become an English manager. It just means that if you want to get one of the best managers in the world right now, you're probably going to have to go outside of English managers to get them. And Thomas Tuchel, no matter what you think of his record at any particular club, is clearly regarded as one of the best managers in the world based off of the way everybody in the industry talks about the guy and his achievements. I mean, he dragged a carcass of a Chelsea team to a Champions League win, right? His failed achievement really was Bayern Munich. But as I talked about in the Bayern Munich run where they eventually lost to Bayer Leverkusen, Thomas Tuchel actually got more points out of Bayern the season they didn't win the league than the season before where they did win the league. So it's not like Thomas Tuchel was dropping an absolute disaster class where everything was in a complete meltdown. No, Thomas Tuchel is capable of getting results and winning a lot of trophies no matter where he ends up. He is also, and the reason to get the popcorn and the reason why I think this is going to be so freaking entertaining if it happens, not a program builder. Thomas Tuchel is Jose Mourinho without the flash, right? He is somebody that goes in there, burns bridges, kicks asses, rearranges teams violently at times. Not physically violently, but, violent in terms of the speed of the rearranging, and pulls together a winning lineup out of a losing lineup and squeezes results out of a team for 2 years. And then he's gone, right? Because he's not able to build that really long-term successful type program. That might be why Manchester United decided to go with a different direction, right? Or hang on to Ten Hag, because Ten Hag tends to lean in the other direction where he tries to build a system and put a program in place and everything kind of comes through, where Tuchel is a win now type hire. He's a win now type coach. And the English team needs to win now because the English team has the pieces to win. And part of that's the reason that I was kind of making fun of it earlier. I know. I like this. I think it's a match made in heaven. Thomas Tuchel has familiarity with the English game. He has coached a fair share of the players that he would at least be interacting with, right? Or played against them. He has seen them up close and personal, repeatedly, consistently. He's got experience coaching a lot of the best players on the planet between PSG, Bayern, and Chelsea. And he is a win-now coach who also has an abrasive, ass-kicking style when it comes to handling players and the media, which is something that, while producing excellent television, will also be necessary to handle the firestorm that is going to come around the English national team, because it's the English national team. There are certain national teams that are always going to have to attract a certain type of coach, because if you can't handle the heat, then you can't even get near the kitchen. Turkey, Mexico, England. These teams require a certain type of manager to be able to even have the audacity to step up to the microphone to try and coach them in the first place. And so I find myself making a two-pronged argument. One, I want this to happen purely for entertainment reasons. But on the other prong, I also believe it would actually be a good hire for England. And seriously, considering the dearth of managers that seem to be available for hire, causing teams like Bayern to take swings on coaches like Vincent Kompany, you're not really going to do better than Thomas Tuchel. Unless you're reaching into the we need an English manager, let's go get Dyche sort of like attitude, which, I mean, granted, I can understand that argument to some extent, right? You're not going to be able to get a better coach for the English national team than Tuchel. Most of all, I'm just surprised Tuchel would want to do it. I mean, I guess England be able to pay a lot of money and you could be a hero forever if you win something with the English team. But I mean, I got the feeling he was a little burned out with dealing with England by the time he left Chelsea, right? And a little jaded with that whole experience. And I figured he was just going to take a year and then pop back into the club scene, because international is different too. Right, you're not typically crossing that picket line too much, going back and forth between club and international. And the jump back to club once you're in international is difficult. And as I've already documented, he is surprisingly 51 years old. Right, there's a very long club management career of 20 plus more years that he could try and tap into if he wanted to. But I don't know what's in Tuchel's heart. I don't know what's in his soul. I don't know Thomas's deep, dark desires outside of trying to finally overcome whatever that tank engine was attempting to overcome. I don't know. But it's a funny headline, and damn, I hope it happens.